do we edit things, or can I just go do hello over again?
I'm not editing. I haven't got time to edit that.
It sounded like my voice was changing. I don't know. I mean,
I think it's because you're feeling under pressure.
Is it? Well, I mean, Mr.
Yeah.
Podcasting for Associations, founder, the big cheese, the boss of all podcasting bosses is here. So yes, I'm nervous, and
yeah. I've put on my special headphones and everything to make it look like I know what I'm doing.
On. Yeah. So let me just do this right. Well, hello, my friend, Andrew Chamberlain. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. I'm in Wales and it's hot.
Are you in your childhood bedroom? Like
No, I'm actually in my childhood lounge, actually, but this is the house I grew up in. Yes.
A lounge. What child gets a lounge?
Kids in Wales do. Yeah.
Well, I hope your parents are well. I hope your visit's going well. Thanks for taking some time out to chat with our drum roll.
Yep.
Our guest,
Mike
McAllen.
Thank you.
Founder of Podcasting for Associations. I'd like to say that you inspired us, but I think we didn't feel that we were good enough until we got through 100 episodes to even knock on your door.
Yeah, you guys are nailing it. It's I enjoy your podcast. I binge listen to it, and as I said earlier before we started recording, it's like I started chatting like I know you guys, because I've been listening, like I feel like I spent some time with you guys. So it's funny to be like, and you don't know me at all. I mean,
yeah, the fun aunt and the weird uncle that you never really knew. There you go.
Well, that's a great thing about the podcasting, right? It's like I know you guys, like you are my aunt. Well, you're not my aunt. You're too.
Just say friends. Can we just stop this? We just say friends.
Yeah. Can I be your fun stepsister and then your weird aunt, your weird uncle?
Anyway, thanks for joining us, Mike. It's really good to have you on. We both really appreciate it, and we're both really excited to have you on this week, because I find it extraordinary that this is, what is this, episode 112, 113, something like that. Yeah. And this is actually the first time we've spoken about podcasting.
I know. And it's like we have the commissioner of the league here.
Indeed.
Well, you're putting too much pressure on me now. Yeah, it is. You guys are really nailing it, because most people only do 5 or something, if they do even more than 2, since you guys are nailing it. So it's and I learn a lot. I learn a lot from you guys, because I don't really know anything about associations. I mean, I've been a part of them, and I've been, of membership things, but I learned so much about the rest of the, because I kind of just dip into each association doing their podcast, but I don't really listen to a lot of them, because if they're about, they're about, endodontics, or I don't really listen to them, because it's I don't know, I can't understand half the things half of them are saying. So that's, it's great information from you guys, though. That's the thing.
Sounds a lot like how I feel when we're recording this podcast. Actually, I think, right, I haven't got a clue what's going on, but I'm just going to nod, look sage.
He fakes it really, really well. So, but it's interesting. I think we come at this differently. Are you saying that you were more of a podcasting expert, and then you became more I don't know,
association focused,
and association podcasting came first for you, and then associations?
Well, the quick kind of my history of it was I worked in production and events for years and years, too much. Anyway, a long time.
The beard gives you the goatee gives you some credibility.
Yeah, it gives me some.
It matches. It matches the story.
Yeah. I'm like Rip Van Winkle. I work with corporations and associations, and I always liked working with the associations more than the corporate ones. But during that time, I started my own podcast, and so I haven't had a podcast, which I need to have one, because I have a podcasting company. But I had it. I've been doing this company for 6 years, I think 6 or 7 years. And before that, when I had my events company, I did a podcast weekly for 10 years. And nobody knew what a podcast was, but it was great. I didn't care if anybody listened to it, because I wanted to get the relationships. And I can see how you guys are doing the same thing. I mean, it's I know you guys and you don't know me, but I got to know the events business I was the podcasting guy, though nobody knew what a podcast was at that time. So I was always explaining what a podcast was. So the event stuff happened, and actually before COVID is when I flipped the whole company to do podcasting. There's a lot of reasons for that, but associations have the perfect podcasting ecosystem because they have the audience, and they have the people who want to pay to get the ears of that audience. So it's a perfect thing for podcast. And I saw that when I was doing it, and I saw the people, the members are very excited to be at that event. When it was a corporate thing, they weren't that excited. I mean, they were, it was mostly sales meetings and things that we produced. So the ecosystem of association podcasting works really, really well. They have everybody in there, and it can, right off the bat, when you hit record, you could be, you can make a difference in your industry, basically, because you're the voice of the industry podcast wise. And I know now it's not just audio, it's video and audio. I kind of went on long there, I apologize, but that's kind of my background of the event stuff to doing. And I tried to pitch podcasting to my events clients, who they didn't really know what it was, but like these sales meetings, they'd cut 200 people from the meeting. And I was like, well, why don't we record all this just audio wise? Because it wouldn't affect the budget. They're cutting people because of the budget, but you could hit, audio and then send an RSS feed to them all where they could listen to it, but nobody kind of got it at that time. That was years ago. So anyway, that's where we are now.
A pioneer. So a pioneer in podcasting is what I now know you to be. That's, gosh, impressive.
Yeah, I don't know.
Pioneer. I mean, we knew everything about association. Well, maybe not everything. And then stumbled into podcasting.
Yeah, yeah. And you guys do a great job. I mean, this is what it's about. It's like being personable. You guys have a good relationship, playful, and then you get to the meat of the stuff. I mean, you start talking about real stuff. And I learned a lot, just from listening to your podcast. So it's good for me.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Lisa, is that when we first sort of started chatting about let's do a podcast, I mean, neither of us knew what to do next. We just did a bit of stumbling and bumbling around on Google and worked out, right, okay, this is what we need to do. And and obviously trial and error means that we've over several years of many trials and many errors, are kind of comfortable. Well, I'm certainly, I know, Lisa, you've been, are as well, extremely comfortable behind the microphone. But it's really interesting when I had a flavor of that this week. Actually, I had a chat with a client, and they were saying, we want a podcast, but I'm really pushing against it. I don't want us to have a podcast. I said, well, why? And this was, this was a membership director. And they said, because it's just going to be too much work. It's just too much work. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what do you think it entails? Well, I don't know, but I just know it's going to be too much work. And I thought, well, that for me, that's it exactly. That's it exactly. Where because you don't know what you don't know, and people are making assumptions, and good stuff is out there, and a lot of associations are putting out some really high quality produced. The production quality is excellent, as well as the content, obviously. And I think, unless you know what it's about, it's really difficult to sort of think, oh my God, how on earth do I get, 100,000 listeners tomorrow? And how do I actually get people to listen to it, et cetera, et cetera? So it was a bit of a reminder to me, actually, when I chatted with this person yesterday, and I thought, actually, we didn't have a clue either.
Yeah. And as you know, it's like a marathon. It's not like a sprint. So it just takes time. And
absolutely,
that's the whole thing. It isn't hard. I mean, you have an iPhone or an Android, you could do a podcast very easily. The microphones on these are fantastic, and you could do this. You could zoom in and talk to somebody. And
anyway, but I think people have been looking for the communications silver bullet for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it was mail, it was postcards, it was envelope stuffers, it was email, or I guess I skipped over faxes, Andrew's favorite phase of
fax. I don't think I was born when faxes were
stop it. But we just as I would say, association communicators trying to demonstrate member value and reach our target audiences, we just keep layering tactics on top of each other. And so I don't see a lot of associations having the conversation that you're probably pitching, Mike, which is, what are you trying to communicate and to whom, and what's working and what's not?
Exactly.
Because I don't think, to your clients, credit, Andrew, that podcasting is perfect for everyone.
No,
And
absolutely not. No.
I don't think it's also something you just slap on top of the pile of everything else you're doing.
Completely. And we discussed that at length. And I think, the point you make there, Mike, about, it's a marathon. And I said, look, it takes commitment. You're not going to, because an awful lot of, I've had 3 or 4 clients who've said, produce podcasts for us. We'll do 6. We'll do 6 and see how it goes. We'll do 6 episodes and see how it goes. We'll call it season 1. And you're sitting there thinking, well, all right, you might, you'll start to get a little bit of a buzz going around, by the time you get to episode 6, but then what? Then you're just going to stop. And, I was explaining, yeah, you're absolutely spot on. It is a long form content that requires a long-term commitment. And, yeah, and I think you're right, Lisa. You're absolutely spot on in terms of it's not right for everybody. Or podcasting isn't right for every subject. We've spoken a lot about using podcasting as part of your education programs. Using it as an element of blended learning component of your CPD. But actually, it doesn't lend itself to perhaps some of the more technical pieces of learning that that people have to engage in.
Well, and that's what I want to quiz Mike on. So, your diversity of clients is very interesting to me, because I wouldn't imagine them as professionals who are sitting behind a desk. You have a lot of medical, you have a lot of scientific, you have a lot of even of, manufacturing, and, you have a wide diversity of clientele. How do you know when your member audience is appropriate for podcasting? Is it how much time they are in the car? Is it how much time they are in front of their computer? How do you know if they're even appropriate?
Well, I think that the great thing about the podcasting is, like, what you're trying to do is build a habit with your members to have something that they're staying connected to your association. I mean, the ones that I've been, unless I'm, you're away from screens and stuff, so you're listening to it somewhere else. It's more of an intimate medium than but in saying that, if you record something, you can also make it written. I mean, you could do a transcript of it so it's written. You could do it and you could cut it up into a bunch of different things to use all over the place. So it's hard to say what's good, what associations it works with best. It's hard. It's kind of actually going back and thinking about your industry and then what types of people are in that industry. Like, everybody's not the same. So there is kind of that thing of the avatar of it. So that you might have industry people who are not like vendors, or, like one of our clients is a pediatric dental association. And so they had a podcast just for pediatric dentists, and they realized that they have all these young people that are coming into it. So they started another podcast called Newly Erupted, which was for new pediatric dentists.
Oh, I get what you did there.
There's no silver bullet for any of this stuff or anything, right? So it is kind of like testing things, but it's knowing basically who you're talking to in your membership, and then figuring out the goals of what your goals are of doing this podcast, because everyone's going to have a different one. Maybe somebody just wants to make another revenue stream. Maybe somebody just wants to have more of an outreach of finding new members, or, there's different things you could do, but you have to figure out who you're talking to, then those topics, what they want to hear about, and not just what you think they want to hear about, but you actually figure out what they want to hear about. And then the goals of that. What are the goals of this podcast? How do we know this is working? Everybody kind of has different ones, as I said. And then I guess the other thing is, how do you measure that? So how are you measuring that this is working or not? So is it feedback from members, or is it money? Is it revenue? I mean, I'm completely, like, blown away. Some of my clients are like, how much they're making from sponsorship. And then I'm like, oh, I'm not charging enough, is what I think right away. But
great.
No, but it's like, it's true. It's like, like, holy crap, like, that's crazy. And then some don't even care, but they're touching their members all the time. Now, did I answer your question at all? I just kind of went off on a tangent there, but it is interesting. And then if somebody does want to do, like what Andrew said, like 6 shows, that's fine. But you have to tell the audience then when you're coming back, like, okay, so we're going to take a break this season and we're coming back on, because how if you're listening to podcasts, you go to those podcasts and you listen to them. It has to become a habit, because otherwise it's just like anything else, unless you're getting your newsletter, and then it's, oh, that's a reminder to listen to the podcast, but as you guys know, it's like, keep cranking at it.
You got to keep cranking. Well, and we've been in arguments about frequency. And
I don't think we have. I don't think we've been in arguments at all, have we? I mean,
I thought you'd remember this because
I said let's go weekly, and you said yes, and I said yeah, great, let's do it. Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to go weekly, but I went along with it. But you have to, and when Mike talks about a routine,
yes,
training your audience is what to expect, and keeping that drip going. What is the magic? What's the secret sauce for frequency, for duration of podcast? I know we try really hard to stay under 30 minutes.
And fail always.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the answer to that is it needs to be as long as it needs to be. Like that's the thing, because it's like, and you don't have to stick to whatever time, because it is a thing where you can stop and start it. I mean, you don't have, someone doesn't have to sit and listen to the whole. You see these really popular shows, or like, I don't know, Joe Rogan or whatever. It's like, there could be like 3 hours. There's a really popular one that I used to listen to, I haven't listened to it in a while, called Hardcore History, and they'd be like 8 hours.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Start and stop it. So, but I'm not, you can't, it's really like, and you can look at your stats and see where people are dropping off. And maybe that's how you do a bunch of them. And then you look and see where they're dropping off, and you say, okay, maybe we only need to do that long of a show. But it's really about your content and stuff. And I do recommend, not a lot of people do this. A lot of our clients don't do this, but cutting it down and cutting out stuff people don't care about, a lot of the stuff we chat about.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big true crime junkie, and I love using association transformation to talk about kind of the crimes that we see happen in the nonprofit space. And two of those crimes for me are putting your president board chair on the podcast every week to read the newsletter, to read the report, to read the CEO's message or whatever it is. To me, that is a crime against membership. And the other podcast crime is when you have guests come on and it just becomes an infomercial. Yes. It just becomes a, look at me, here's what I do, buy this from me. And I mean, to me, those are two crimes against membership that I think we should block. We should ban.
Yeah, I have a friend that does a podcast in the tech world, and his I'm blanking on the name of it, of course, but he's done a great thing where he sells ads on his podcast that there are you're an ad on one, and you're an ad on the second one, and the third one you're actually on the podcast, but you can't talk about your company at all. Like, I mean, you can't do the infomercial. It has to be about a subject, like, hey, we're talking about this, and and he sells it out every year, right at the beginning of the year. He sells those out, and I don't mean just to go to revenue, but it is like thinking about how you're formatting stuff, basically.
Yeah. So when you're considering or pitching this to your board, should you immediately promise revenue? Should revenue even be in your first 12 months, 100 episodes? Like, at what point do you, I just wouldn't want to set unrealistic expectations or make that a measure of success, from the start.
Right. Well, I mean, I think that's really looking at what your association is all about, and who your partners are. I always say, like, your exhibitors, if I've told people, like, hey, you're thinking about a podcast, why don't you put it in your prospectus for sponsorship for your next meeting, and say, hey, we're starting this podcast. I kind of have a little system that I put people through to figure out, like, topics, so it's kind of like you start out with, you as your internal staff put together, these are our topics, and then you take them to some members and you say, hey, these are our topics, what do you think? And you get it back, you rework it, then you take it to the people who are like the people who speak at all your events, all the industry experts people, and you say, hey, these are our topics, what do you think? And then they give you say, and then you have buy-in with them to get them on the show. First you touch them. The last person is to go to all your exhibitors at your event and go around and say, well, we have this podcast we're going to do coming up. What do you think about these topics? And they might know more about your members than you do, because they're selling to them every day. So, I mean, I don't know that. And then that's where you can kind of get your topics down to get rolling on, what they want to, what is best for your industry, basically.
And I think that's an incredibly important piece, because I think that piece of market research around content is critical, because you might find you haven't got enough content to justify the commitment, or long term, we're going to go weekly from, week one. I think I really like that. I mean, we should have done that. At least we should have done some market
You're the
research. Maybe
content department.
we just said let's just do it. And but I think we're lucky.
We had one listener, your mom. Is your mom here? Can we meet your mom?
No, I said you can be on. She was like, no, I'm going upstairs. I don't want to be part of this nonsense. Yeah, no, I know.
That breaks my heart. She's our founding listener.
And still probably in the top 2 of both listeners. But I think also it's interesting. I want to go back to that point there about, you said bringing your president on and, regurgitating written materials. But I do think it's, yes, content is king, but without character behind the microphone, it means nothing. I mean, you're just going to switch off. And I think often
I can just have Siri read it to me. I don't need the head to read it to me.
And I think sometimes there's this assumption that it's got to be the head heejin who's in charge, and the chief exec's got to be the host, or the president's got to be the host. And actually, I think that's a really important sort of lesson there, which is actually get the person who's got not just the voice made for radio, but who's got the character, who can actually conduct a conversation behind the microphone. Because so often I hear them and I think, oh my God, like you say, Siri could read this to me. Absolutely. So I think the whole character piece is so important.
Well, it becomes almost ego. I mean, the president or the chair thinks it's their spotlight, it's their soapbox. And, they may not be the most effective messenger. And I think the messenger could change based on topic, could change on time of year. And you have to be willing to adapt your podcast recipe. And I think you and I've figured this out either on accident or just gotten around to it.
It was probably accident. Let's be fair.
It was probably accident. And you do what works. You do what needs to happen. You do what works, and you try different things. That's what I love about the format. That's what I love about kind of the independent nature of it. There aren't rules, and we can sample, we can pilot, we can test, we can go away for a month because it's the holidays, or we can double down, we can be on the road, whatever.
Do you not find that just blows people's mind when you say to them, oh no, it's okay, you don't have to have a script? I mean, particularly when you're working
they freak out.
Oh my God, particularly when I work, when you work, and Mike, you must have this, because you work with clinicians and academics and medical professionals, and when you say to them, oh, it's okay, you can just chill, have a chat, see how it goes, they're like, what?
Yeah.
It's a scary place for people.
It is. Yeah,
we've had some success with our clients. I mean, I don't want to talk about the CEOs who are. I don't want to get in trouble.
It could be good. It could be good. I'm just saying, there's more bad than good.
We'll just flash their pictures up on the screen. No names.
They have but I think some of the more successful associations have actually paid their hosts to do it, and that makes a difference. Then it is amazing though. Like you offer it, make someone a professional, then they're a professional podcaster too, which kind of is nice.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
Andrew, look into this.
I know. I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, oh my God, right. Okay. There's money to be made out of podcasting.
Right. I mean, we're still amateur podcasters because we've never made a single penny off of our podcast.
But have you asked anyone?
Yeah.
Have we ever asked anyone?
Yeah, we've asked. We've put out media packs. We've asked people. At the moment, people aren't,
interesting,
too excited. But now they know that you're a member of the Association Transformation family. They'd be like, "We gotta get."
I apologize. Please don't wait for that. Nothing's going to happen.
Our new hurdle to overcome is our Mike McAllen relationship.
Yeah. Well, we have it where ours get more. They get more valuable as they go because we use dynamic insertion, so dynamic content, so we can pull the ads in and out or the events in and out of every podcast, which we do for all our clients. So if they have an event coming up, they could put it in all of them. Not that a lot of people are going way back, but it's very handy for getting sponsorship. They know that they're buying 100 episodes, not so you guys could think about that too when you're selling them, to be like, hey, we could put this on all of the front of all of our shows, because you could cut put it in and out. So I don't know. It is an interesting thing.
McAllen. That's why he's the big cheese. That's why, everybody comes to him.
That's why he's the only man in the entire industry who's making a living out of podcasting.
Are you guys doing, no. Are you guys doing like live? Do you do live shows?
We did once, and we almost got arrested on the Mall of America.
Yeah, we did almost get arrested.
We did it for our 100th episode anniversary.
And you were somewhere.
Not the Mall of America. We weren't in the Mall of America.
We weren't in Minnesota.
Not in Minnesota. We were
the nation's
on the
capital.
mall. Yeah.
So, but I mean, we were, in different continents. So.
But have you ever gone to an event together then? Somewhere like one of these industry events?
Well, we have a couple scheduled. Those are always fun. I mean, we're already live and unscripted, when we record, which again puts some people on tilt because they want preset questions.
Right.
They want to know what's going to happen. And so we love the live thing. It's just, how many times can our paths cross?
Yeah. Well, if they do, I mean, we would do that at all of our clients. We go to their annual meeting and we set up
I think it's
a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But, when I used to have my old podcast, it was called the Meetings Podcast. I would go to like MPI and PCNA and we would have a meetup, and then we would have, it's neat to talk to the people that are listening. I don't know how much feedback you guys get from people, but it's neat to go and meet people that listen to the podcast, and you guys must have, fans.
We've gotten more attention. I mean, we've been recognized, we're nominated for awards. I mean, obviously our first founding listener doesn't want to meet us or doesn't want to say hi, but
don't say us. She knows me.
Is that why she doesn't want to come? Is that really why she doesn't want to come?
Probably. I saw, Mike, that I saw that you'd posted recently on LinkedIn discussing, the opportunities the podcasts give you at your annual meetings and the conferences. And I've seen that when, working with clients, and their statistics just skyrocket when they're recording live at the, and of course it's so easy to do sort of 2 or 3 in a day, put out, 10 minutes on this subject, 10 minutes on the, and their numbers just go through the roof. I think it's phenomenal. And I think that's something that your clients aside, I don't think that's something that the sector's really tapping into that potential enough.
Yeah, I know. So this year, we came back we went with the endodontists to the LA, and they have a front and center in their exhibit hall. You walk in, there's their booth, and they have a stage, and it's part of their agenda. And then they use those podcasts obviously to go out on the feed. I have another client, the Preventive Cardiovascular Nurses Association, I think, Academy Association, one or the other, whatever they PCNA. They Geraldine Warfield is the person that runs there. She's freaking amazing. She just has a breakout room, and she brings people in, and one after the other. We did like 32 episodes in 3 days. So she's hammering them out, and they're coming in, and she talking to all the doctors and stuff. And then I think she's got it kind of where they come off the stage, and then they go then they come down and go and do it because they're already
and they're prepped for it. They know it's happening.
They're all pumped up and they're ready to go. Yeah. And then this year was the first year we did video, where we bought these little cameras and stuff that were kind of cool to switch back and forth for them. But in saying that, talking about content, and you want to keep going there, obviously things, they get old, but they put out three a month, or 3 or 4. I mean, or they'll just but they'll pepper in other ones. So the on-site stuff is neat for getting content.
Yeah. So are you a purist? Are you okay with audio only old school podcasts, or do you only want to produce and recommend dual?
Yes. I think the audio's, I'm more of an audio person because I like to get away from screens and be able to go out and do something else. Like you guys washed all our cars with me the other day, and when you were with me out in the garden, I like the thing of going and doing other things and listening to stuff because I'm like that. But the video stuff, it works. And also you can cut it up and make, we were just before I got on this call, this guy, Joel, who works with me, my partner, he, was using Riverside. I know you guys are using Zoom right now. We use this other one called Squadcast, which are some people here actually from, I live in Oakland, California, and they just sold their company to Descript. Probably people don't know what the heck I'm talking about, all these companies. But Riverside, which we've kind of started using, you can cut it up into clips. Like the AI will cut it into like 10 clips, like for you. And some of them are amazing how they found so it's just kind of, I don't know what I'm saying, but it's just like there are so many tools to use now to get it out there. So if you could do that, the clips to get it out to find more members to say, hey, I didn't even know about this association. I don't know. It's like there's just there's so much stuff you can do. It's just that's the thing. So it is, but being
that's
consistent.
like a paralysis of options, that's just so much.
Yeah.
Is it though? Is it?
I mean, if I was an association executive and I had, everything else going on, and someone said, hey, let's do a podcast. I mean, the first question is why. The first question is, what do the members want? And then how are we going to measure? And that's my kind of closing question for Mike is, at what point do you have enough experience and episodes and data to really do an evaluation of whether it's working or not and what you may change? Is that 6 episodes? Is that 6 months? Is that 100 episodes? Like, at what point is it fair to truly assess the initiative?
I think that's a difficult question to answer, but I do think if you set your goals and you have measurement before you do it, you say, this is why this is where we would find success.
Yeah.
Is it that number of downloads? Is it, feedback
so is it downloads?
From members?
I mean, is it downloads? Is it views? Is it shares?
I think it's like individuals have to set their own goals and then have their own measurement, because there is this is the Wild West, as you guys said earlier. You can do whatever you want. So it's like, it is kind of testing things and figuring out. I mean, I know that our clients, the ones that are consistent, do really well, and they do really well, and they get a lot of downloads for very small memberships. Like, and I'm always amazed. Like, I mean, and then some don't because they're not consistent, and they're, just the people you just talked about. We have clients like that will do. I have a corporate client, Autodesk, giant company. And they'll do like
do we want to name them? Are you going to say something nice or something nice?
No. I actually want to encourage them to do more, because it's just like they'll do 2 and then they're all fired up about it, and then 5 months go by and then they do another one, and it's just like, I mean, I don't mind taking their money. Fine, I'll come and take your money if you want me to do this. I'm happy, but I keep saying, let's just get it rolling. It's like that's the thing, and people are all fired up about it. But associations are, again, I love working with associations just because they're more. They don't.
What's the word he's going to use?
Well,
oh my God! Fill in the blank.
Fill in the blank.
Well, there is also, they don't have the staffs and stuff. Like, they're smaller groups of people. Like, Autodesk is just this giant company, and there's so many levels of people have to talk about everything. So, like you said, this podcast could never happen to them.
Right.
But they're the people who like Autodesk would love this podcast like that. People bantering about it, just like Andrew said. It's like, that's what you need. What did you say? Like, you need the character. You need the character. The character, because it's I mean, you get the character when you have them all buttoned down, if they have the character. But it's the associations have a really great opportunity to connect with their members through this, and I understand what you're asking, because they all want data on everything. And we give stat packages, quarterly stat packages, so we can give them anytime they want. We'll put it all together. We figure it out with them. Like, what do you want to, they don't want everything, but they, we try to figure out what they need to show to their board to say, hey, we're doing. But and also, one quick thing is, like, you say you only get like 20, let's say 50 downloads a month, whatever. That's 50 people. I mean, I'm sure not all of them. That's 50 people. If you look at a picture of 50 people, and those are 50 people that are interested, that's a lot of people. So it's like, you don't have to get these giant numbers. And I think they kind of get people sometimes get, we're not getting a lot, but literally you're getting 200 downloads a month. That's 200 people that are interested in you and your industry. It's like, it's not Joe Rogan where you're getting millions of people. Nothing. Yeah. And if you go too broad, it doesn't work. So if you're, the more niche you get, and that's why I, again, thought this association is perfect, because you are why not be the voice of your industry? If you are the leaders of your industry, like, it just seems like a no-brainer to me. And just like you said, you don't have to make it all completely fancy. It can just be, hey, we're starting this thing, listen to it. I mean, if your members grow with your podcast, they like it, and you'll know your super fans, super members who will be like, I love this podcast. They're the ones who are going to market for you, not social media or whatever. It's those people. So it is.
So is it realistic to then expect or hope that a successful podcast could actually have a positive impact on recruitment and retention?
I think so.
And that's something we could never really correlate to.
No, but I think so, because you're getting out there.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're getting out there and you're showing your voice and you're actually talking. I mean, when I've joined associations, and then it's just like nothing happens. I mean, you have to put time into it yourself, obviously. But besides that, if you don't have time, then you're just paying money every year for, I and the accreditation stuff, I understand that all, but if you can touch people all the time, touch your members. It's such an intimate media, because you're like, you're listening to. I like I said at the beginning when we got on, I know you guys. I know you both, and you don't know me, but I know you. I mean, I've listened to a lot of your podcasts, so it's like,
So that's the downside. I mean, I guess if there's any downside to podcasting,
how dare you? How dare you? I think
you're exposed. If you're going to be authentic, then people think they know you. I mean, what's the downside to podcasting?
There's no downside.
Is there a downside?
I don't think there is a downside. I think what Mike is saying is spot on. I don't think at the moment, I don't think there's another media that we're using within the association world that is accessible 24/7 everywhere around the world and in your pocket and, and in your ear. I don't think there's anything else that we can do at the moment that is allowing us to engage with our members consistently than podcasting right now. It's why I'm such a massive advocate for it. I've answered the question. Sorry, Mike, and I interrupted, but I don't think there is a downside to it. Obviously, I'm a massive advocate. I wouldn't keep putting myself through this every week. Otherwise,
it is though.
Oh my God! Let me get my violin, Mike. Hold on.
Yeah, I do think the downside of the whole thing is its work. I mean, it is more work. And if you have a small staff that say, that's what I get, when I'm doing sales, trying to get people to do this, they're like, we just don't have the bandwidth to do this. Well, that's why. And I always say, well, that's why we're here.
That's why you need us. Exactly. Yeah.
But it's still that they have to, set up the interviews if you're doing interviews, or just write the scripts or whatever you're getting, and we just talk about podcasting being interviews. You can do all kinds of stuff. There's the gamut. I run a podcast group here. I run the California Podcast Association, which is in the Bay Area here, which I started to grow before COVID, and now we started it up again. But the podcast, the people that come to the meetups are fantastic, like just to meet all these people. They have the most eclectic podcasts. A guy who has a podcast that puts people to sleep, and he makes so much money from this podcast. He's been doing it for 10 years. He tells boring stories to put people to sleep. But he has a Patreon thing, and I don't want to say how much he's making, but it's just like, it's thousands and thousands of dollars every month from people who are fans of his. There's a couple that do a dinosaur podcast, and they talk about dinosaurs. They're a couple. It's their full-time gig. They both like dinosaurs. They had a dinosaur wedding. They're the cutest little couple. Anyway, there's just all these people. There's anyway, well, I don't know why I'm telling you all this. It's just kind of like, it's just a neat podcasting is just neat to, my partner, Joel, he does a vampire podcast from that show, Lestat, it's just, he's passionate about it. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's just like, podcasting is cool.
It's for everybody. It's find your niche, find your voice.
Yeah. So that's why the association should be doing it, because people who are excited about whatever the industry is will listen to it, and thinking that, who are those people? Who are people in my industry that I'm targeting, and go for it, kind of thing. But the staffs it is hard. I understand that is the hardest part for them, I think it is another thing on their list of things to do. So that's, but if they do break through that and they get rolling, I have not had a client yet that is, if they do consistently, not successful. Like if they're doing a consistent podcast episodes, they're all successful. And I can show you the whole data on all our clients. I mean, you could just, but the ones that aren't consistent, it's
like the people who don't follow the doctor's recommendations, like when you don't do what your doctor tells you to do.
And plus, when you look on your phone and there's nothing there ever, you just stop looking for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I look forward to the podcasts I listen to, and you know, I mean, I do. I look and I wait, and I know they come out, and that's the other thing, putting them out on the same time, same day.
Yes.
Like that is really important because people get pissed when it's not there, and they get like, "Why? Oh, you're not doing it, or is it today?" You know. So something that another little ditty about that. So,
well, that's why you're the guy.
So Mike is actually running a knowledge exchange session for the Society of Association Management on the 14th of November. It's online.
Oh, cool.
It's online. It's 2:00 UK time.
What does that mean?
Well, 2 p.m. in the UK. It's 2:00 in the afternoon.
What time does that mean for Mike and
Oh my goodness me. Well, for you, oh no, it's not. It's 3:00 actually, because I know that Mike is on the other side, on the West Coast. So it's 3:00. So I think that's like 8:00 in the morning for Mike. I think maybe 7:00 in the morning, something like that.
Okay, so 10 for
10 for you, 10 for you. So yeah, check that. That's on Society of Association Management. Registrations are open, and I need to check if I've actually registered yet. I don't know if I have.
Fun. That'll be
but
good.
That's something for, I think this is a great introduction to that conversation that Mike's doing. Thanks, awesome. Mike. Thank you so much.
Well, I can't wait for that session. I can't thank you enough for joining us, for being both a guest and now member of the Association Transformation family. Longtime listener, first-time contributor. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
My target when we started this was to get 20 listeners in Belgium.
And where are we?
We did it.
We
nailed it.
Woo!
So what's our next target in what country?
Oh,
let's pick.
Let's look at the Olympics table. Let's see what the medals table is looking like at the moment. Let's see who's at the bottom, and we'll aim for them.
The bottom. Okay, you're right. I like your low standards. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not low standards. It's high standards, because it's like, let's challenge. Let's get in there and see, how we can penetrate that market.
It's a good idea. Good idea.
Oh, good. Please don't encourage him, Mike. Please.
I love it.
But we can't wait to check out your SAM presentation and hopefully have you back.
Anytime. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for all the stuff you guys do. I really do. I've learned a lot from you guys and stuff that I didn't even know about associations, it's really helpful for me. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Check out podcasting for the number 4 associations, and we will encourage you and remind you every time to put your members and your mission first.